Hey, how goes it? Welcome back to the Mighty Quest for Epic Loot. I still have a horrible cold, so my voice is going to be a little messed up, even more nasally than normal. And to be frank, I feel like complete crap, but I gotta record some episodes, so the show must go on. So I've decided that I'm going to do kind of a quick tutorial, because people seem to be a little bit, not necessarily confused, but without being able to hands-on play the game, the speculation of how things work is, I guess it's just not evident as to how things work exactly. So I'm going to do a small tutorial on how to set up a dungeon and stuff, just like the basics of how stuff works. Also, I upgraded my cash supply thing, so we got a higher max now, which is nice. We're going to collect these, because we need to make a lot of gold in order to upgrade the castle. And it costs a lot of crystals to do that. So I upgraded Firesley. He is now Firesley 2. He's got more health. He's pretty badass. He has mystery abilities still and all that, so he slams his tail and breathes fire and all that cool shit. He's got a lot more health, which is nice. He's generally just pretty good right here. So, but right now I'm using a really cheap tactic, which I just wanted to see if it would work, because my archers, my smelly archers, actually upgraded. I went on the excuse me. I went on the forum, onto the bug report section for beta testers, and I told them that I was having issues with my archers, and then just miraculously and spontaneously I got an alert over here saying that my archers had surpassed somebody else's, and then I went and checked on them, and they were all suddenly level R. They were rank 3 rather than rank 1. So they're actually good now. So let's do a basic tutorial on things. Now, one thing I can say, I'm not entirely sure of how this works. I don't know how your castle's level is entirely calculated. It has various factors. I know, the number of creatures in here affects it. The number of rooms that you have affects it. I think my settings have been reset again. 1 second. It's totally professional. No, the volume's still at 70. So anyhow, let's see. Yeah, the number of rooms affects things, the number of mobs affects it, and I think the level, the level of all your stuff, from your heart castle to all of your building things to, I think, the research level of your mobs might affect as well. But yeah, so let's start with room placement. Room placement is pretty easy. I'm going to replace stuff in a room that is easy to fix. So if we take this room, we can pick it up and move it around. There's going to be a problem with my castle, but that's fine. As you can see, there's these golden glowy doorways. That shows wherever you can attach something. So this one has one here and one here. It needs to be placed between two things. If it has a third one that goes off in the nowhere, you can just leave that going off in the nowhere and it'll make a wall there. Now that's good, because if I go to my inventory and go to my rooms, you see rooms like, let's take this one, or no, we'll take this one, the four-way crossroad thing. It has a north, south, east, and west one. So if I want to confuse people, one way that I can do that is by putting a room going off on, one side and this side, and leave these two blank. So maybe they would go to the left first, see that it's just a wall, say, ah, god damn it, keep going, there'd be a wall here, and they'd eat up a little bit of time. People have done some really interesting things to try and trick and confuse you by, like, for example, this room, the junction corridor with a T-junction. This is a little easily hidden kind of thing. Sometimes you miss it. And what they'll do is they'll put a trap here and nothing here and no room in the bottom. So you see the trap, you go, alright, well that's obviously the way they're going because they're protecting it. You go that direction, and then you end up in this little T section facing a wall going, well, that was a waste of time. And it eats up a little bit of your time, because remember, the game is primarily all time attack. The most important thing you have to do is beat the castle as fast as you can. you really want to get through this, you know, before the timer's up, because that's how you gain more money. So it's pretty easy to place rooms. You just, you know, place them where there's a glowing bit. You can rotate rooms like I've shown, you know, and just totally fuck up my castle. Some rooms seem to work better in one way, like if you're doing what I'm doing with this repeating fire spinny traps of death. It works better this direction. I forget which episode it was, but in one of my episodes I showed that if you have it facing one direction, these traps are less effective, because you can easily just, I mean, they spin in a direction that they always spin in this direction. They always spin counterclockwise. So if the room is, I'll just rotate the room real quick to show. If the room's this way, you just wait here and then you go, rather than having to go all the way around like this. You go here and go, well, maybe you can squeeze through real quick, but more times than not you'll come up and it'll be like that, and you have to go around or wait further back and then go. Both of them are a little bit more of a time sink, which is what those traps are there for. That, and they do a little bit of chip damage on people. So let's talk about how mobs work. Let me pick one of these. So when I click on these, you can see the circles around each and every one of the groups of mobs. And you see the numbers, and, you know, 19 out of 20, 20 out of 20. I try to keep them as full as I can, but one of them is, you know, I have run out of points. But we'll talk about that in a second. So, every mob in your thing, I'm not going to be able to see this way, I'll just open up this. Every mob in your thing has a defense rating. I'm not going to be able to mouse over it too. Alright, so see defense rating to the it's the third thing down below the name. So it says Snotter, level 14, creature, ranged attacker, and it says defense rating 1. That's how much he costs to put into this pile. So if I pick him up, see the cost goes down to 19. Drop him back in, makes it 20. This guy costs more, they cost 4. So I pick him up, drops down to 16, I can move him around, drop him again, goes back up to 20. The most you can have this is 20 out of 20. You can't have it any higher. The only spot that you can have it higher is in the boss section. Let me zoom out a little more. The panning doesn't work quite as well, the edges of the dungeon. So in this room you can have 36 out of 36. Now, there were some conversations going on in episode 25, I think, about why don't you just put bosses everywhere. If you look at a boss, if I can get it to work, Mr. Fisley, he costs 28, which means in a normal group you would not be able to place him. He would go above the 20 out of 20, he'd be 28 out of 20. So you can't place him really anywhere else. Count Snottingham also costs 26, he's too high. In fact, here's a trick that I found. If you start dragging somebody out, I can't really do it, because I have my dungeons too full anyways. We'll just do this. You click on down here, we go to summon. We'll look at some of the other bosses. All the bosses always cost more than 20, so let's have a look here. So if you see this red star here, that indicates it's a boss, and also in creature, right there, it says boss. Excuse me. So bosses always, they're easily identified, but they always have more than you can place anywhere other than the boss arena, which is this big circle. Elite supports usually have between 10 and 16, I think. So Dr. Skull costs 10 defense, which means you can place 2 of them in a normal circle. Also, you determine these circles, which I'll show in a second. You decide where they are. This one is always in the same place no matter what, because it's always at the end or right before the doors, and it always takes up the entire room's width. So, yeah, Mr. Firesley's 28 because he's the boss. Pete Poundmore's 16 because he's an elite. Let's see, what else we got? Robo Shieldatron is 14. So yeah, you get the general idea. If it's an elite, it's higher. Normal mobs cost less. He's technically an elite, but he doesn't have the star. I don't know why that is. It even says elite ranged attacker. Excuse me. Same with Jimbo. He is an elite melee attacker, and this guy one-hits me almost every time I go into a dungeon that has him. The Pteroraptor Overlord, it's a boss. It's got 36. He takes up the entirety of that. So, and you know, there's more. And eventually we're going to get some cool things like this Mr. Boom Boom, which is kind of funny. I'm excited to get him because him and the Explodifier spawn kamikaze enemies that just come running straight at you and self-destruct. They're really great for distracting people, and when you've got more rooms in a larger dungeon, you know, something that's going to take 15 minutes to get through, it can get kind of intense, and having those distractions are going to be really useful. Look at my episode where I raid a level 30 dungeon. That'll be a good example of that. So, let's talk about making these circles. Let me pick up one of these snotters. You're good. Nah, you're cuter. Look at this little guy. So, oops, I think I dropped him into the abyss. No, there he is. Alright, so obviously, if it's red, there's something in the way. Can't put him on top of stuff. If it's green, you can place him. You see the circle around him. That indicates where he'll be pulled. So if I put this guy off in the corner, like so, right past, if you can see this arc, you know, imagine this arc lining up with this mine. We're going to go trigger it right now. I don't know why I'm on my knight. I guess I clicked on him last time I was on here. So, it doesn't matter that I'm being burned. You can imagine right here the circle around him, because we know it lines up with this. So I'm going to walk right here, a little closer. I'm right on the edge of it. There you go. I've passed it entirely. And then I pulled him. He now wants to attack me. So, tough little bugger. So that's how those circles work. They just show where the edge of their aggro zone is. So if I put this guy back over here, now let me zoom out a touch. There we go. So you can see the circles are, when the circles are touching, it turns into one large blob. Anything that touches inside of that becomes, you know, it gets pulled. So if I touch that white line right there, although it's invisible to players, if I touch it and go past it, all of these guys will start attacking me. All of them. Same with if I cross any of these bits, these guys become active. So by doing this, you can spread enemies out quite a ways. So this is actually a good example. I've got 3 Cyclopses here, and they hit hard. But I want them to be activated, and I kind of want them to pull into this room. So what I got is I have a Snotter right here and a Snotter right here. This Snotter, as soon as somebody passes this line, these guys wake up and they start chasing after them. With any luck, when this person goes over here, they'll either be standing in this fire or they'll be stuck between these 2 fires with nowhere to run. And the reason I have this guy here is just to connect the 2. So he's effectively like an extension between these. Let's see. So that basically covers how to place mobs. Here you can see I have the 2 that are barely touching. People typically go after this first. And, hang on a second. Okay, sorry about that coughing fit. So, let's see. Yeah, so we've covered pretty much everything there is for mobs. My general philosophy when it comes to mobs is make it so the person has to fight as many groups of mobs as possible. Because if they can dodge it, that's time that they save, and you don't want them to save any time. Even if you're just going to put one random mob out somewhere, it does take a short amount of time for them to stop and swing their weapon or shoot their thing or whatever. Unless they use an active ability that like auto attacks, like the Knight's Charge or something like that. But even then, there's a little bit of a slowdown at the end of it. So yeah, and to quickly wrap this up, we'll talk about traps. Traps, it doesn't seem like there's a limit to how many you can have. I don't think they raise your level. Actually, we can find out. I'm just gonna remove a few of these and see if it actually affects my castle level. I'm just gonna remove the spinning ones because they're easy to place. Now, by now I think my level would have gone down. So yeah, that's a thing. Or rather, it's not a thing. So let's go to placing traps, because now I can show how to place them. So basically, you see the dotted lines? That's basically your only limitation. If you can make them... excuse me. Oh, this cold is horrible. Basically, they just can't... Those dotted lines can't touch. That's the only real limitation that I found with traps. You can level them up, you can place them generally anywhere so long as those lines aren't touching, because then it turns red and it doesn't allow you to place. I need to zoom in slightly so I can see what I'm doing. And proper trap placement it's just experimentation. You got to try things out to figure out what's most effective. I like putting these traps close to the doors, right about here, because then it covers both doors. I'm gonna drop this somewhere where I know it'll be wrong, so oh no, fuck, I'll just go in here and do it. I can't see anything. Alright, that should be good. The reason I put these fire traps on these doors is because it makes it difficult to get through this door in a timely way. Because really, remember, you want to deter people from getting through the dungeon as fast as they can. You want to tie them up at every corner. And I'll show a quick example. Why can't I do this? It will not allow me to attack my own dungeon for whatever reason. Have I messed something up? I may have messed something up. I don't know, it says everything's fine, it just won't let me attack. Maybe the servers just went down. I don't know. Well, anyway, I can explain this. I've also noticed sometimes when the servers go down, they don't immediately kick you. You just can't go do anything. And then it logs you off in a brief time after that. So yeah, if I come up to this, and I'm stopped here, I gotta wait and go around, and then this thing's in the way, so I kinda have to negotiate my way around the room and try and get through as fast as I can. And then I hit a bunch of mobs, and this fire comes back, and it kinda licks your back a little bit if you back up at all. It's not so good. It sucks to be stuck between fire and mobs, because you're taking damage one way or another. So yeah, that's the most basic of tutorial that I can really give, that the game doesn't provide so readily. I mean, you've got all these different things and what they do, but the tutorial in the beginning of the game would do that. You could go back and watch the first episode of this, and I kind of go through some of the tutorials. But that's, to my experience, how traps work, more or less. And I've given, throughout the episodes, my philosophy on doing things like putting a hamster wheel in the middle of a thing, because it divides the room in two and adds an intimidation factor. If you hit it, you know you're getting stunned. If you get stunned, you know you're getting swamped by a dozen mobs. Half of this is psychological warfare, really. So yeah, I record these in bulk, so it'll be a while before I can really show any other examples. But if you have questions, let me know in the comments. I'll try and talk to you guys as much as I can. At the time that this video is going out, I might not be back from my family reunion. I don't know. Either way, I'm not sure if I'll have internet by the time this is going up. You'll see in the announcement video that should be up by now, where I am. But post some comments, and maybe if you have something very specific, I'll go back and address it in an actual video. So yeah. That's basically what I know just from playing the game. I haven't really looked up any ways to be like super efficient or anything, but I forgot to put that back. But, did I not have a trap in this room? I thought I had a mine trap or something. Or maybe it was one of these. No, not that. This. Yep, there we go. But, yeah. So next time, I don't know what we're gonna do. But, we'll figure something out. Maybe we'll watch some replays and see how people have been doing in here.